Life is Art is dedicated to bringing you insightful commentary on art, culture, and life. To support the podcast, feel free to make a monetary donation or purchase our official Life is Art merchandise at the link in the description. Your donation helps us to reach a wider audience and helps us to gain traction in the world of social media. Thank you for your viewership and support. Life is Art. Art moving at the speed of life. Life moving at the speed of art. Have you ever thought about what censorship means for art? I know a lot of people don't, especially because art is kind of looked at as this untouchable thing that doesn't have to obey those same standards. Art gets away with things that other professions don't. It's conveying an idea. That idea is sometimes controversial. The idea is sometimes revolutionary. And those components of art are even recognized by establishments, or at least they had been recognized by establishments that were in the business of censoring. You couldn't censor an artist when they were talking about colonialism. That word would pierce through a community. If an artist was talking, and it was looked at as noble, it was looked at as all these things. You couldn't censor an artist if they were talking about gender. And anything that was gender related was considered, as long as they were on the same page as far as the conversation of gender. And when you challenge people in the arts, they generally in the past were a bit more open as far as perspectives. After all, ideas and thoughts were the wellspring from which art flowed, or so I thought. I've lived through 2 administrations. I've lived through 2 different governments, and what I've found is censorship is a part of propaganda, and I wondered how it was affecting artists. Well, I know how it's affecting artists just by looking at the art. Artists are affected because they have to adhere to things that are in the algorithm. And is there really a difference between this administration and the administration before? No. It's just that the keywords in which they wanted to censor were different. Now the word, and I'll just say it because I don't have a big following anyway, the word diversity is a no-no. I got an email from the organization that I used to be a part of looking for a name that could actually address the idea of diversity without saying the word. And people really don't understand that we are in a time of fascism that we never got away from. And this is an unpopular opinion. I don't believe that the previous administration was any more fascist or any less fascist than the administration now. The censoring of words is a sign of fascism. The censoring of ideas is a sign of fascism. And with the art community, we censor anything that is not, and I repeat, that is not a part of status quo. You may talk about gender issues as long as you are on the right side of it, not with a contesting argument. You may talk about race as long as white men are the ones persecuted in your work. You may talk about anything that you want in the way that the established community agrees with. This is bullshit. Artists are now afraid of ideas, and artists shun other artists that have a different perspective. And I've said this before. I've gone over it before. I've said it, and I'll say it again. If an artist is censoring themselves to fit in, and they're talking about post-colonialism, colonialism, and all kinds of things like that from the same perspective, the only thing varied is the medium in which they give the same message. And if the message is the same, how revolutionary are you? I'm not saying be different for the sake of being different, but I am saying that we live in a climate, even in this administration, to where you have to watch what you say, which is a huge no-no for the artist. The artist not being able to say much means you are now just like everybody else. It means that you don't have a voice that's unique. It means that you are masquerading. And anybody who knows me knows that I am aggressively against believing in any government because usually they have a set of laws that omit somebody. And before you had people railing against the, the wrong of omission. But I saw a administration to where um, I and there's nothing against transgender people, but the conversation was very, very, very one-sided about transgenderism, and we had an entire other half of the country that was weighing in, and they were reduced to being called dumb hicks and homophobic and transphobic. The conversation isn't that simple, yet we were too chicken shit as artists to even explore the flip side of that. What does it mean? So you have people that grew up for many years not being exposed to um, the truth about transgenderism. They grew up without having ever been around a trans person, but nobody wanted to explore the insecurities of the people that were quote unquote transphobic. That would be a conversation. That would be thrilling. We talk about the inner workings of the Black community and how white America has affected the Black community, and everybody has the same answer. The answer is white supremacy affected this all Black community where the mayor's Black, where the administration is left leaning. There's nobody to blame. We don't talk about the inner workings of what those uh, what those disempowered people could be doing to empower themselves, because then it's reduced to the usual pull yourself up by the bootstraps um, conversation that is largely dismissed and dismantled by the left. I'm not saying that the perspective has to be from the right. I'm just saying that the perspective has to be, or could be, and I'm suggesting that it be from all perspectives. So we as artists not only have a full picture of what's happening, but we also open up to new subject matter that can move the conversation forward. We don't explore deep enough as artists. We fit in as artists. My moniker is the brave artist, so I'm having this conversation. I'm sick of conformist artists thinking that they're revolutionaries. I'm sick of the conversation being the same from person to person. I'm sick of there being no texture and everybody being too afraid to add texture for fear of being shamed. What does it mean to be shamed? If Sarah doesn't like what I think and leaves my Facebook page, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? What ramification will that have on me? I sometimes wonder if now it's fashionable to be afraid and be completely aware of words. And I've heard this before, and again, I'm going to make a lot of people angry. We talk about the violence of words. The violence of words. And they're the violence of words of people that we don't have to listen to. We really could just turn off the monitor. But we're building a society of helpless people that feel that they must self-censors so they don't have the horrible shadow of being shamed. How many artists in the past were called outrageous for bringing their ideas to the table? How many artists were looked at as rebels because they said something different in the conversation. How many artists in the past had different ideas about a particular situation? Many. Now, if you do not fit in the protected class of people, if you don't fit in that protected class, you are ostracized from the conversation that you are a part of. And that is an ongoing part of the arts right now. I think about groups that have been held down and people that have been held down. Nobody can come up with a conversation of what empowerment would look like for them. Nobody comes up with a conversation of self-realization, self-actualization. Actuality is a word that I use as actual reality of the situation. We're so starved to be on the right side of anything that we don't even care about the perception of what the right side is. All we know is if it is in fashion and if it is in season, it's the side I want to be on. I want to know the entire conversation as an artist. I want to know the entire conversation as a human being. And I don't want the specter of censorship or fear of shame to take that away from me. I want to be able to talk openly and honestly about anything. But what I hear from the art community is a repetitive echo chamber. I can tell you exactly when I see Black art what the topics are: colonialism, identity, and my place as a Black person in society. Are those wrong? Absolutely not. There is nothing wrong with that. But what more can you say about you as a human being? And I swear with feminist art, if I continue to see vaginas, I'm probably gonna flip. What more is there to you than your vagina? Think, work, try, investigate, be more than the obvious. And today I am fired up, and perhaps through my work, I can show you better than I can tell you. There is more to a discussion. I cannot tell you the number of people that are in my life right now that have stunted conversations because they're more worried about being on the right side of good. They want to make sure and ensure that they are good in the way that everybody else is. And that's a tragedy. That is a tragedy that we as artists are now afraid to investigate and question. Our political affiliations are more important to us than our quest and our investigation of life, of love, of society, of culture. And we diminish we diminish complete sides of the of those that are involved in the conversation. We dismiss those sides and we immediately use names to label them. If there's not a person on the left calling somebody a deplorable, then you have somebody on the right calling somebody a libetard. I have artist friends that are conservatives that won't say anything, quiet as church mice, that are a part of the conversation. Yet they feel afraid. Trump is in power now. There are liberals that feel afraid. When did we forget that it's wrong for half the country to feel afraid? When did we forget all of that? We're supposed to be, and I'm talking about the artist. I'm not talking about just the people. We're supposed to be united, not in our ideas, but in our quest to ask questions through our work. And I am not including people that are just happy to paint trees, but this eternal escapist mentality that we have, this look the other way mentality that we have, is sickeningly boring to me. This simplification of certain categories of human beings by other categories of human beings for the sake of fitting in is boring to me. And I would like to see a little bravery in the art community to where we can actually have a conversation about stuff so that we can move the conversation forward. Because I have to tell you, I don't have any interest in talking to somebody that agrees with me in the same way, with the same language, with the same uh, outlook. That's not a conversation, that is an affirmation with different voices saying the same thing. Is anybody capable of having a true conversation without fear? And will the truth mean more than political, cultural, or gender affiliation? I have a bone to pick, and it may not make me very popular, but I have a bone to pick. I am done with the cowardice. I am done with the censoring of any art. I'm done with it. For what it's worth, in my own little small corner, and I'm going to do my best creatively and verbally to bring the conversation that artists should be having safely back to the forefront. I would love to know your thoughts. Share, blast it out, share it, like, subscribe. This one I need heard. I'd love to know your thoughts. Until the next time, take care.